5 mornings ago, before the sun even thought about rising, I woke up gasping. My chest felt like someone had wrapped iron chains around my ribs and kept pulling tighter. I dragged myself toward the bathroom, lungs screaming for air. That's when I saw him. My younger brother Ethan, 19 years old, standing in our hallway. In his grip, every single emergency inhaler I owned. All 7 of them. He watched me struggle, then shook the bottle so I could hear the medicine rattling inside. "Can't catch your breath, can you?" he said, smiling. "Funny how that works. Maybe if I never had to deal with asthma, you shouldn't either." I tried begging. My words came out strangled and weak. He just kept grinning and asked, "Wonder how long until you collapse this time?" That was 5 days ago. This morning? He stood trembling in a courtroom while criminal charges were read aloud against him. "Hey, my name's Sophia Bennett. I'm 23. I've had life-threatening asthma since childhood. Ethan is 4 years younger, and that morning, he decided whether I'd take another breath." If you're sitting there shocked, needing to understand how we went from my own flesh and blood, trying to watch me suffocate, to him standing in handcuffs and crying, hit that like button and subscribe. Because this story gets so much darker. I was 8 the first time I nearly died. Regular Thursday afternoon at my elementary school outside Austin. PE class had just begun. Texas summer heat was already brutal, pushing past 90 degrees. Some kid kicked up a massive dust cloud playing kickball. One inhale of that thick, pollen-choked air, and my throat sealed shut like a vault. I remember collapsing onto the hot pavement, clawing at my neck while my vision went white. Teachers were screaming. Someone dragged me inside. Next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance with plastic tubing forcing oxygen into my failing lungs. That day changed everything. Doctors told my parents I had critical asthma, the kind that could kill me in minutes without immediate medication. After that, my whole life became about survival. My parents transformed into full-time protectors. They installed a locked cabinet in our kitchen holding 5 inhalers minimum. Another lived in my school bag. One stayed in the car. One was literally taped underneath my classroom desk. Every single morning, they checked air quality reports like meteorologists. Mom gave up her nursing shifts to drive me to specialist appointments with Dr. Martinez. Dad bought medical-grade air filters for every single room. I became the sole focus of their entire universe. Because if they couldn't keep me breathing, nothing else in life mattered. Ethan was only 4 when this started. At first, he just observed, wide eyes following me everywhere, while Mom counted my medication doses or Dad rushed home early on high pollen days. Then, the small incidents began. One afternoon, my backup inhaler vanished from my backpack. We searched everywhere, finally discovered it shoved behind the washing machine, cap removed, medicine completely ruined. Ethan said he'd been playing hide-and-seek with my stuff. Mom laughed. He was only 4. By age 6, it stopped being innocent. Cold winter nights in Austin can hit freezing temperatures, exactly what triggers my worst attacks. I'd wake up wheezing because every single window in the house was wide open. Ethan would be standing there in his dinosaur pajamas, grinning like he'd won a prize. "House felt stuffy," he'd say with that innocent face. Mom would gently scold him and shut the windows, but the damage was done. I'd spend half the night shaking, breathing through my nebulizer while he slept peacefully. When he turned 9, things escalated. He figured out that cranking the ceiling fan disperses my medicine before it reaches my lungs. I'd be sitting on the couch trying to recover from a mild attack. Suddenly, the fan above me would blast to maximum speed. I'd look up, and there he was across the room, finger on the control, watching to see how fast I'd start coughing again. Mom caught him once. Grounded him for 5 days. 5 days, that's all. He learned every hiding spot I used for spare inhalers. Under the sink, top closet shelf, inside my gym bag's hidden pocket. They'd disappear. I'd come home from school and frantically tear through my room while my chest tightened, praying I'd find one before it became a full emergency. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I had to call Dad at work, listening to the panic in his voice as he raced home. Ethan always had the same innocent expression. I didn't touch anything. My parents' response never changed. "Ethan's just young. He doesn't grasp how serious this is. You're the older sister, Sophia. You need patience." So I learned to hide my medication in different places weekly, started triple-checking the medicine cabinet locks, stopped mentioning when another inhaler went missing because I already knew what they'd say. I was 11, 12, 13, and every year his games got more dangerous, but I was always the one expected to be the bigger person. By 15, I didn't trust my own brother anywhere near my medicine. I'd fake sleep until I heard his door close. Then I'd sneak downstairs to count the inhalers in the locked cabinet. Some nights, one would be gone. Some nights, the entire box would be unlocked. I never told Mom and Dad how terrified I actually was, because deep down, I knew they'd choose him every time. I became an expert at protecting myself, but I never imagined I'd need protection from my own family. Number, when everything flipped. 2 years ago, everything shattered. It started the week Ethan turned 17. We were having a small celebration in our backyard. Mom had just carried out the birthday cake when Ethan suddenly grabbed his throat, eyes bulging, and released the most horrifying wheeze I'd ever heard. He dropped to his knees on the concrete patio, clawing at his neck, face shifting purple within seconds. Dad screamed for someone to grab an inhaler. Mom was hysterical. Guests froze in shock. I stood there watching. I knew exactly what real attacks looked like. Something felt completely wrong, but nobody listened to me. Ambulance arrived. They rushed him to the emergency room. 2 hours later, he came home with a brand new diagnosis: severe asthma, just like mine. From that moment forward, Ethan became the star patient. He mastered how to make the wheezing sound perfectly authentic, how to time his fake collapses for maximum audience. Within 6 months, he'd had 4 emergency room visits. Each time, he returned with new medical restrictions he'd somehow convinced doctors were necessary. No strong fragrances in the house, no visiting pets, all air purifiers now pointed toward his bedroom. He demanded his own nebulizer and locked medication case just like I'd once had. Mom converted the guest bedroom into his personal recovery space, complete with a hospital-grade air purifier that cost Dad 3 paychecks. She quit her part-time job after Ethan's second school attack, said she couldn't risk being unavailable if he needed her. She started carrying his rescue inhaler in her purse the exact same way she once carried mine, checked on him every hour during the night, listening at his door for wheezing that mysteriously never happened when no one was watching. Dad installed an extra fridge in the garage, specifically for Ethan's medications and special dietary needs. He stopped asking about my doctor appointments. When I had a genuine flare-up after track practice, he told me to push through it because Ethan had medical documentation saying stress worsened his condition. My actual attacks became treated like inconveniences. I watched our entire household reorganize itself around my younger brother's performance, and I was the only person who saw through it. I caught him once in the bathroom, practicing how blue he could make his lips by holding his breath. Another time, I discovered an untouched inhaler in his trash cap, still sealed, never used. When I questioned why he needed 4 refills in 1 month, he just smiled. "Guess mine's worse than yours now." Only one person believed me. My best friend Harper Chen has known me since middle school. She'd witnessed my real attacks, the kind where I ended up hospitalized, hooked to ventilators. She started sleeping over more frequently, observing Ethan like a detective. We'd whisper in my room while he fake coughed loud enough for Mom to come running. Harper noticed how symptoms only appeared when important people were around, how he could run full speed during gym class when the coach watched, but collapsed the second Mom arrived for pickup. I tried talking to Mom, showed her the unused inhalers, the suspicious timing of every episode. She looked at me like I was the cruelest sister alive. "Sophia, your brother is sick. Stop making this about yourself." Dad backed her up. "You've had your turn being the center of attention. Let Ethan have his." So I stopped talking, started keeping my meds hidden in Harper's car just to stay safe, forced myself to smile when Ethan got new restrictions that made my life harder. Swallowed my rage every time. Mom forgot my prescription refill because she was too busy rushing to the pharmacy for him. Ethan had stolen everything that used to be mine. My parents' worry, the special treatment, the constant protection. And he accomplished it with nothing but perfect acting and calculated smiles. For almost 2 years, he got away with it completely. Number, the day the mask fell. Thanksgiving last year was when the mask finally cracked in front of everyone. We had 25 people squeezed around folding tables, stretching from our dining room into the living room. Turkey, enchiladas, 4 different pies, complete Texas chaos. Harper was staying the night since her parents were traveling, and she was already tense, watching Ethan like he might explode. Around 3 in the morning, I woke up needing water and noticed Harper wasn't in the guest bed. 10 minutes later, she crept back in, phone clutched against her chest, eyes enormous. "You need to see this," she whispered and pressed play. The garage light was on. Ethan sat on a folding chair, feet propped on a cooler, hitting a bright blue vape pen like it was the most casual thing in the world. Thick clouds, 0 coughing, 0 wheezing. Just laughing at something on his phone. 29 seconds of absolute proof. Harper had recorded everything from the side door window. I stared at that screen until my hands trembled. "Tomorrow," I said. "We end this tomorrow." Morning came. The house smelled like coffee and pie. Everyone was passing dishes, debating football. Kids screaming and running wild. Ethan waited until every table was full, until every aunt and cousin had food in front of them. Then he stood up, clutched his chest, and delivered the performance of his life. He gasped, staggered sideways, knocked over a chair. His face went crimson, then purple. He dropped to one knee, making that awful strangled sound he'd perfected over 2 years. Mom screamed and lunged for his rescue inhaler. Half the table jumped up. Someone yelled to call 911. Harper stood up calmly, walked to the living room TV, and mirrored her phone to the screen. The room went completely silent except for the hiss of Ethan's vape filling the 60-inch display. You could see the blueberry-flavored cloud drifting around his head while he scrolled social media. Those 29 seconds felt eternal. Ethan froze mid-performance, mouth open, hands still fake clutching his throat. Our neighbor, Mr. Gerald Torres, everyone calls him Jerry, happened to be visiting that morning, dropping off homemade tamales his wife made. Jerry's a retired Austin paramedic who still carries a pulse oximeter on his keychain from habit. Before anyone could speak, he was already kneeling beside Ethan, clipping the device onto his finger. 98%, Jerry announced flatly. "Kid's oxygen is perfect. Better than mine." You could hear a pin drop. Dad's face turned the color of cranberry sauce. He stood so violently his chair toppled backward. For the first time in my entire life, I heard him raise his voice at Ethan. "Living room, right now." The rest of us followed like we were attending a funeral. Mom was already crying before Dad even started speaking. He made Ethan play the video again on the big screen. Made him sit there and watch his own lie in high definition, while 25 relatives stared in horror. Then Dad laid out the consequences. "You have 30 days to pack your belongings and find somewhere else to live. You're done leeching off this family's fear. You're done pretending to be sick. And you're absolutely done putting your sister second." Ethan tried tears first. When that failed, he tried yelling that we were all jealous. When nobody bought it, he went ice cold. He looked straight at me, then Mom, then Dad. "You're all going to remember this Thanksgiving every single day for the rest of your lives." He grabbed his keys, walked out the front door, and slammed it so hard the holiday wreath crashed to the floor. We didn't see him for weeks after that. Number, Black Friday morning. 5 days ago, 6 in the morning, I woke up suffocating. My eyes snapped open in darkness. That familiar crushing grip was already clamped around my chest, tightening with every heartbeat. I slapped my hand toward the nightstand. Empty, the small orange inhaler that's supposed to be there every single night gone. I yanked the drawer out, dumped everything onto my bed. Nothing. My lungs were starting to scream. I swung my legs over, bare feet hitting cold floor, and staggered down the hallway, clutching the wall for support. Took the stairs as fast as I could, each step jarring my ribs. The kitchen light was already on. The locked cabinet bolted to our counter hung open like a broken jaw, lid torn from one hinge. Empty. I ripped open the fridge door so hard bottles rattled, the backup cold storage gone. I tore through pantry shelves, junk drawers, Mom's office safe. Every single hiding spot I'd spent a year perfecting had been raided clean. That's when the real wheezing started. High, sharp, unstoppable. I spun around, chest heaving, and there he was. Ethan stood in the doorway between the kitchen and garage, hoodie up, hands behind his back, a clear plastic bag dangled from his fingers, heavy with weight. Through the plastic, I could see the unmistakable silver caps of 7 rescue inhalers lined up like ammunition. He'd come back in the middle of the night, picked every lock in the house, taken the only things keeping me alive. He lifted the bag slowly and gave it a deliberate shake so the canisters clinked together. "Morning, Sophia. Sleep okay?" My knees gave out. I caught the edge of the island to stay upright. The first real contraction hit my airways, slammed halfway closed. I could hear the whistle with every breath. "Ethan," I croaked, "give them back." He stepped fully into the light, pulled the drawstring tight, looped the bag over his wrist like a trophy. "Give them back?" He laughed once, short and bitter. "After everything? 19 years of you being the only one who mattered because you couldn't breathe properly? 19 years of me being invisible. Now you get to feel it for real." Another wheeze tore out of me. My vision tunneled. I slid down the cabinet until I was sitting on the tile floor, legs splayed, trying to suck in air that wouldn't come. He walked forward slowly, footsteps echoing. "Want to know how easy it was? Spare key under the fake rock. Same safe combination since you were 11. You got careless, Sophia." "Thought I was gone for good." He stopped 2 feet away and crouched, so we were eye level. I took every single one. Bedroom, lock cabinet, fridge, bathroom, even the one you hid in Harper's car last month. 7 inhalers. That's all that stood between you and this exact moment. My lips were tingling hard now, going numb. I could feel the blue creeping in. "Please," I rasped, barely a whisper. Ethan tilted his head, studying me like a science experiment. "Please? That's it? No apology?" "No. I'm sorry I stole our parents' entire lives?" He stood up again, swung the bag once like a pendulum. I could walk out right now and let nature handle the rest. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small hammer, the one Dad kept for hanging pictures. Or I could make absolutely sure no one ever finds a single dose. My heart slammed against my ribs so violently I thought they'd crack. Another spasm hit. I doubled over, forehead hitting the tile, wheezing so loud it filled the entire kitchen. Ethan stepped over me, set the bag on the island, and lined up all 7 silver canisters in a perfect row under the pendant lights. "Clock's ticking. Big sister," he said quietly. "How long before you pass out? 7 minutes? 9? Let's find out." He raised the hammer. "Your move. Number, what happened next?" He didn't wait for my answer. Ethan turned his back briefly, reached into the drawer under the microwave, and pulled out Dad's small red claw hammer. He arranged the 7 rescue inhalers in a perfect straight line across the cold granite, spacing them exactly 2 inches apart like he'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Then he looked down at me, still on my knees, wheezing so violently my entire body shook with every useless gulp of air. "7 inhalers," he said softly. 7 chances you had. Let's see how many you actually deserve." He raised the hammer. The first strike came down fast and precise. Asterisk, asterisk, crack. Asterisk, asterisk. The plastic casing exploded into white fragments. A thick cloud of albuterol burst out, filling the kitchen with that sharp medicinal smell I knew better than my own perfume. "That one was for every single time you got 2 birthday parties because the first venue might have had allergens." Second strike. Asterisk, asterisk, crack. Asterisk, asterisk. Another canister ruptured, white mist shooting sideways and coating the stainless appliances in a fine layer. That was for every family vacation we never took because the hotel wasn't asthma-friendly enough for Princess Sophia. My arms gave out. I collapsed forward, palms slapping against tile, trying to crawl anywhere that had oxygen. The wheezing was constant now, a terrifying whistle echoing off the backsplash. Ethan walked around me in a slow circle, hammer dangling at his side. Third strike. Asterisk, asterisk, crack. Asterisk, asterisk. Medicine sprayed across the floor like chemical snow. "For every school event Mom missed because you had a flare-up the night before." He stopped in front of the island, pulled his phone from his pocket, propped it against the fruit bowl so the camera pointed straight at me. The red recording light blinked on. "Time for your confession, big sister." He held the 4th inhaler up to the lens. "Tell the camera you taught me how to fake asthma so I'd finally get attention I deserved. Say it clearly, and maybe I stop at 3. I tried to shake my head. My lips were purple now. I could feel it. My tongue felt 3 times too large. He waited 5 full seconds, then shrugged. "4th strike. Asterisk, CRCK, asterisk. The hammer left a chip in the granite. White mist drifted down like toxic fog. For every Christmas morning I spent in the hospital parking lot while you got presents delivered to your room. I was flat on the floor now, cheek pressed against cool tile, fingernails scraping uselessly as I tried to drag myself toward the back door. My vision pulsed black with every heartbeat. Ethan stepped over my body, blocking the exit, and picked up the 5th inhaler. This one's for the 2 years I had to fake dying just to feel like I existed in this house. He held it inches from my face, shaking it so I could hear the liquid sloshing inside the last working dose in the entire house. Say the words, Sophia. I taught Ethan how to fake being sick so he would get love. Say it and I'll let you have this one. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out except a wet, broken rattle. Tears streamed sideways into my hair. He sighed, almost disappointed. 5th strike. Asterisk. Crack. Asterisk. The canister burst right above my head. Cold medicine rained down on my face, into my eyes, my open mouth, but none of it reached my lungs. Only 2 left. Ethan crouched beside me, phone still recording, and brushed a strand of hair off my forehead the way he used to when we were little and I had nightmares. You know what these last ones are for, he whispered. For every single day, I wished it was me who couldn't breathe just so someone would care. He stood up slowly, raised the hammer over the 6th silver canister, and looked straight into the camera. Any last words, Sophia? My body convulsed with one final desperate wheeze. The room was almost completely black now. I could feel my heart stuttering, skipping beats, shutting down. He smiled the coldest, emptiest smile I've ever seen on another human being. Time's up. The hammer was already falling when the back door exploded inward off its hinges. Number, the rescue. Mr. Jerry Torres, 65 years old, 230 pounds of retired Austin paramedic muscle came through that opening like a freight train. The garden hose was still clutched in his left hand, spraying water across the tile as he charged forward. He'd been outside watering his roses at 6:30 in the morning when the sound hit him, one long, desperate, inhuman wheeze carrying through the open kitchen window, followed by the weak, frantic banging of a palm against glass. He dropped the hose, vaulted the low fence between our yards, and hit that locked back door with one perfectly placed kick. Wood splintered. The deadbolt ripped clean from the frame. Jerry took in the scene in one heartbeat. Me collapsed on the floor, skin ash gray, lips purple, eyes rolled back. Ethan standing over me with the hammer raised for the final blow. 7 destroyed inhalers leaking white clouds across the granite like chemical warfare. Drop the hammer. Now. The command cracked like a gunshot. 30 years of running into emergencies still lived in that voice. The hammer clattered to the floor. Jerry was on his knees beside me in under 2 seconds. Huge hands tilted my head back, cleared my airway, sealed over my mouth. He gave 2 strong rescue breaths, chest rising under his palms, then checked for pulse with 2 fingers against my neck. Weak and thready. Come on, Sophia, fight for me. He started full CPR rhythm. 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions. His knees cracked against the hard tile, but he never slowed. Between cycles, he yanked out his phone 911 on speaker and barked the address and situation, so clearly the dispatcher had everything in 10 seconds. 19-year-old female, intentional deprivation of rescue medication, severe asthma, cyanotic, unresponsive. Need engine, medic, and law enforcement code 322-847 Mesquite Drive. Suspect still on scene. Sirens were already screaming closer. Austin Fire Station 43 is only 7 minutes away on a bad day. This wasn't a bad day. The first police unit burst through the ruined door 4.5 minutes later, weapons drawn. 2 firefighters from Engine 43 followed with the medical kit and stretcher. Jerry never stopped compressions until the paramedic tapped his shoulder and took over airway management. They slapped a non-rebreather mask on my face, cranked the oxygen to 15 liters, started a continuous nebulizer, and pushed IV epinephrine while another medic established a line in my arm. Across the kitchen, officers had Ethan face down on the tile, one knee in his back, cuffs ratcheting tight around his wrists. The last unbroken inhaler rolled from his hand and spun to a stop against my bare foot. You have the right to remain silent. Ethan didn't say a word. just stared at the floor while they hauled him up. Jerry stayed right by my side, holding my hand the entire time they worked on me. He kept talking low and steady. "You're safe now, kid. Breathe with the mask. I've got you. You're not going anywhere." They lifted me onto the stretcher, strapped me down, wheeled me out past the ruined door and the abandoned garden hose still spraying across the driveway. Morning sun was just rising bright and hot as they loaded me into the ambulance. Jerry climbed in with the crew, his old station, and held the oxygen mask in place the whole ride, lights and sirens, the entire 7 miles to St. David's Hospital. I coded once in the rig. They shocked me back. Number 48 hours later. I woke up in the ICU with a breathing tube down my throat and machines doing the work my lungs couldn't. Mom was curled in the corner chair, asleep. Dad stood at the window, shoulders shaking. When they finally pulled the tube the next morning, the doctor's exact words were, "2 more minutes without intervention, and we would have lost her." Ethan never saw daylight that week. They kept him in juvenile detention until the prosecutor decided to charge him as an adult. Jerry sat with my parents every day I was sedated, brought Mom coffee, told Dad it wasn't their fault, promised me when I could finally hear again that he wasn't going anywhere until I walked out of that hospital on my own 2 feet. He kept that promise. Today. Today was the preliminary hearing at Travis County Courthouse. I walked in on my own 2 feet, still carrying faint bruises from the chest compressions, still tasting albuterol every time I swallowed. Mom held one arm. Dad held the other. Harper and Mr. Jerry sat directly behind us in the gallery. Ethan was already at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit 2 sizes too big, ankles shackled, staring at the floor. The prosecutor laid it out cold. 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon under Texas Penal Code 22.02. The deadly weapon wasn't the hammer. It was the deliberate removal and destruction of life-saving medication from a person known to be dependent on it. In Texas, that's legally equivalent to pointing a loaded gun. They played the body cam footage in open court. 65 inches of Ethan lining up my inhalers, swinging the hammer, telling his camera I taught him to fake asthma while I turned blue on the kitchen floor. The judge never flinched, but half the gallery gasped out loud. Ethan's public defender tried the troubled teen angle, rough childhood, feelings of neglect, cry for help. The prosecutor countered with the 911 call, the ruined inhalers, the fact that he recorded the entire thing for evidence. The judge took less than 10 minutes. 5 years probation, felony conviction, mandatory anger management, 600 hours community service, permanent no-contact criminal protective order. Any violation and you serve the full 5 in state prison. Clear? Ethan nodded. He finally looked up when they called me to the podium for victim impact statement. I stepped forward, hands shaking, and spoke the only words I'd prepared. "You stopped being my brother the moment you decided my last breath was payback. From this day forward, you don't have a sister, and I don't have a brother. That's forever." I didn't wait for his reaction. I turned and walked back to my family. Number, the aftermath. That same afternoon, Dad hired a locksmith. Every door, every window, every gate got new deadbolts. Mom deleted Ethan's number, blocked him on every platform, erased him from every family photo cloud. We took the framed pictures off the walls and stored them face down in a box in the attic. By sunset, there was no trace he'd ever lived in that house. 2 weeks later, the protective order arrived in the mail. Ethan Bennett is legally barred from coming within 500 yards of me, my parents, Harper, or Mr. Jerry for the rest of his life. Violation is an automatic new felony. His probation officer has the address of the house he can never approach again. I still keep 8 inhalers now instead of 7. 1 in every room, 1 in the car, 1 on me at all times. I still wake up some nights reaching for the nightstand, heart racing, before I remember I'm safe. Ethan lives somewhere across town with a cousin who took him in. I don't know the address, and I never want to. Jealousy left unchecked can transform the person who once shared your blood into the biggest threat you'll ever face. If someone in your life is hiding your medicine, destroying your belongings, or hurting you to feel important, please tell someone before it's too late. You deserve to breathe. You deserve to live. That's the end of my story with Ethan Bennett. He is no longer my brother, and I am finally, truly safe.